Around Comics. 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 You're listening to Around Comics.
From Chicago, this is Around Comics, the comic culture podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Niesman, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime, Mr. Brian Salazar. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am fucking awful.
This is the third
I'm angry.
time that we've done this tonight.
Yes. But we decided that we're not going to go live. We're just going to record it, and that way at least we'll make sure to get, hopefully, through a goddamn show.
Yes, I have had so many gold openings tonight that you got a month's worth of awesome out of me. I'm done. I'm spent now. You get no more, sir.
Well,
I said good day.
You know.
I said good day.
It's the only job you have. It's the only thing you do to get the show fucking rolling. So I don't want to
There's no spontaneity about me talking about cleaning up my comics room all weekend now.
Well, just, you know, nobody cared anyway. I don't think
I
nobody
know
gave a shit.
you seemed really excited about it, but I did. So folks, there's some deep cuts on the editing room floor now that you'll never hear. I cleaned up my comics room this weekend because we're all doing projects around the house. And Sal, I found some treasures while I was doing that.
Well, do tell.
So we had Jim Rugg on the show a couple weeks ago, right?
We did.
Talking about Octobriana 1976's awesome Kickstarter.
Yes.
Do you remember this little gem that he produced?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Several years ago, Jim produced a mini comic. So it was a webcomic mini comic. So I think he had it available to view online as a web comic, but then you could buy the mini comic of Rambo 3.5, which is also just an amazing, awesome Jim Rugg story about George W. Bush after 2000 or after 9/11, recruiting Sylvester Stallone to fight for the United States after the terrorist attacks. And it's pretty amazing.
I don't remember I mean, I don't know if I ever read it or not. Quite honestly, I'm not sure if I ever got one, but
might still be online.
Yeah, probably.
You'll have to check. I found a bunch of great Jeffrey Brown stuff. You remember his Wolverine mini comic, Dying Time?
I do.
So I found that little sucker, and it's awesome if you want to see Jeffrey Brown's take on Wolverine, which was cool. And speaking of Jeffrey Brown, do you remember when he would sell these at conventions and signings? It was the Jeffrey Brown process packets.
I do kind of remember that. Anytime you start a sentence with, do you remember? It's really iffy if you're going to get an answer out of me or not.
So Jeffrey would sell these amazing little envelope packets called Process, which one of the neat things in it had a mini comic called Process by Jeffrey Brown, How I Make Comics. And it's an actual comic about his creative process and what he does and how he illustrates and everything from how he scripts things out and works with publishers. And then on the back, handwritten, is a list of stuff that is in the packet, which this one had an unfinished, unused panels from an X-Men story. There's doodles, and this is an actual script page from his Incredible Change Bots comic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wasn't lucky enough to get any of the Darth Vader and Son stuff, but I think this predates that a little bit. But yeah, it just comes with a pile of doodles and notes and proof pages. So I thought that was pretty cool to stumble upon that.
That's a really interesting sort of like idea to try and sell that kind of thing of like almost grab bag.
Grab bag of stuff that most people just throw away, right?
Right.
But it's like, you think about creators out there. It's like, how much would you love to have, like, Bill Sienkiewicz, warm-up doodles or, that kind of stuff that, just got thrown away. You'll remember this one. So this is my Walking Dead first volume trade, which you were there when this sketch was done.
Sure.
So that's one of the Tony Moore bathroom sketches.
Are you the infamous Tony Moore bathroom incident?
So yeah, I got some other stuff I'll go through later, but yeah, I found all sorts of little treasures in the old basement this weekend.
Very nice. Yeah, I kind of did a similar thing, in this COVID-19 quarantine year of 2020. I had some extra time, so I straightened up a lot of my comic stuff and reorganized things and put things in places where I may actually. And it was funny, like running across. I did the same thing. Like I ran across a couple of books, like this gem I was looking at is like the Will Eisner Expressive Anatomy for Comics and Narrative.
Oh, awesome!
Which is I went back through and was reading it. Like, oh, there's some really interesting things in here. Just little tidbits. It's always funny to sort of like revisit drawing books and that kind of thing, because I always sort of find something different that I
look at it a different way than you may have a few years ago.
Yeah, speaking of that, like, oh, I think I have it here. Hold on one sec. I found this, not that I found it, but I realized that I had it again. It's called Framed Perspective Volume 1. And it's all just, learning perspective for artists. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, and I have always struggled with perspective, like understanding perspective and getting how to use it, that kind of thing. And so I went back through, I started reading it again. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. There was one, like, there was one part especially that I always struggle with, was like, if you don't have a drawing table that's 40 feet long and you have like these wild perspective points,
yeah,
like how do you figure out, the perspective points, the vanishing points, and it's explained in here how you do that. And like, oh, that makes complete sense. Now I get it. Now I can do that, sort of thing. But yeah, so it was interesting to go through these and find stuff like that and go, oh, and revisit them with a different eye and maybe some more patience or something. So yeah. That's while those aren't comic books specifically, they are comic related, because I'm still trying to learn how to draw.
It's funny finding like reference books that you had that are now probably 20, almost 20 years old. I'm looking at one now, that it's stuff that now is so readily available on a smartphone, laptop, tablet, the stuff that you would never think about being printed now because it's so readily available on the internet. I found the 2001 St. Louis Cardinals media guide, and it is chock full of information that no one would ever care about then or now. But that the media guide, it was how reporters and media folks, that's how they had like information on these players' careers or what transactions the team made the year prior.
It's amazing the crap I have.
Yeah, it's useless, but this was important back in the day.
I'm gonna one up you. Hold on a second. Because I have it right here. Hold on.
Oh, the crap that we keep in our houses. 2001 Cardinals media guide. They were terrible that year.
So this little gem right here, if you can see, this is like the Ferrari media book from the Indianapolis 2005 race thing, and it's actually, I mean, if you're a Ferrari fan, I'm sure people would be.
Oh yeah,
like
I bet you that goes for hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Probably, because it's
or like $2.
I went to a race. I went to like a Formula One race, and we had pit passes, and I was able to commandeer one of these from the media room, and it has all sorts of little Ferrari, tidbits in there, and I've just held on to it. It's like I'm not even a car guy.
Yeah,
really.
Is it a nice design piece though?
Oh well, yeah, it's Ferrari.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, there you go.
Yeah,
you'll steal from that. You'll be like, yeah.
It's all just red and yellow, and black and white, 4 colors.
There you go.
Not a whole lot, but I don't even think I've ever actually really gone through it. It's just been sitting in a drawer forever. Just silly.
It just
things.
Looks cool.
Yeah.
I did find this guy.
Oh yeah, I did too. I have that on my nightstand actually. I'm not gonna go get it.
So this is Ciudad, which is we had Andy Parks on several weeks ago before Extraction debuted on Netflix and became the most watched movie on Netflix history, the most successful debut of a movie, whatever.
Something
it's
like
that.
100
million views.
It was very successful. It was very well watched.
Very, very successful. This is out of print, which is crazy. Have you seen some of the price? And I know that Amazon's not the greatest, barometer of value, but like the cheapest listed copy of that book on Amazon is like $780. Yeah,
nobody's paying $700 for a copy of that. Come on.
Yeah,
I hope Andy has a stack of them at home. That he can.
Yeah, there you go, Andy. But it's I don't know what that goes for on the secondary market. I'm not selling mine. Marta's like, would you sell your friend's book? And I was like, if I get $700 for it, Andy would understand.
I don't really, I don't pay attention. You pay attention to that stuff a little more than me, like original art.
I don't, except whenever I'm just curious. I mean, you've seen that stuff on
every
Amazon.
time I talk to you, you're like, did you see what this is going for? So you do. You do. Don't say you don't, because you do.
It's
fascinating. To continue our technical difficulties today, you might want to change the focus on your camera because it keeps going in and out of focus.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know why, but it keeps going in and out, even though you're just standing there. So it's
okay.
It's like too tightly trying to focus on your glasses or something.
All right.
So
I'll update.
Just more technical difficulties.
More stuff.
It's such a shame. I had some cool things to show you today, and show our audience today, but now I'm disappointed. And
you know what? Let's just have a quick one. Let's talk about some of the comics we've been reading, and we'll get in, we'll get out. Tom was going to join us, but the world's on fire.
And the world is on fire, and his neighborhood is being looted, it sounds like. So, he's going to take care of the kids, and I don't know. It's crazy time. Well, before we get too far into things, I do want to remind people you can email us at info@aroundcomics.com if you'd like to get a hold of us. Send us suggestions for Comics 101 episodes. We've already done 2. We have another one coming out relatively soon. And we're going to do more after that of different subjects. So please feel free to suggest things. Or if you just have questions about the show or comments about any of the episodes, contact us through info@aroundcomics or on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. All the links are on our website, www.aroundcomics.com. And if you would like to help support the show, you can go to aroundcomics.com/shop. And we have official Around Comics merchandise there. If I come up with more designs, I'll put some more stuff. Maybe if Chris comes up with a design, an Around Comics design for a shirt or something, he'll put it up there. But so far, haven't
you
seen...
will veto it. It'll never get past your stringent design guidelines.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, nice try, buddy. And
we'll see. But yeah, so if you'd like to support us, you can do that. And yeah, that's about it, right?
Nice. Yes.
I do want to mention. Okay, so one thing I do want to throw out there to people. I had an idea for a new segment that I want to do on the show about Kickstarter comics. We have a lot of creators that are creating stuff on Kickstarter nowadays, and I thought it would be a good idea if we kind of created a segment every once in a while where we could talk about Kickstarter books. I mean, we already have talked about Ryan Brown's Kickstarter and Charles Soule, their Kickstarter, and Jim Rowe's Kickstarter. That kind of thing. What?
Charles Soule.
He
corrected me.
I can't believe I just did that. That was completely accidental.
That's awesome. Actually. Thank you.
Yeah,
makes me feel better.
But yeah, so I thought we would do a segment, and I created a little intro for our Kickstarter segment, which I have named "Kickstart the Jams." I done kicked them out. So we'll have that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, always till the day I die, baby.
You know, there is a Kickstarter I wanted to mention. Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago has a Gene Ha designed shirt called "Keep Reading Comics" that they are selling on Kickstarter as just kind of a hopeful little shot in the arm to the comic shop, and it looks super cool. All the characters on it are creations of Chicago area comic book creators. So you get, some Battle Pug and from Mike Norton, and the Scary Godmother from Jill Thompson, and all sorts of stuff. I'm sure Gene probably drew May in there. We had Gene on the audio only version of the podcast a few months ago, talking about his book May. And so Challengers has a Kickstarter out there for a pretty sweet t-shirt. So,
well, there you go. I know they had their store t-shirt up there as well, and some other stuff. You don't happen to know the name of it or anything, the Kickstarter, do you?
No, but I can look it up. I bet you if you Google around like Kickstarter Challengers Comics or something like that. Let me look. You keep telling people about your Kickstarter idea.
Oh, well, the idea is just if you have a Kickstarter, if you're a comic book creator and you have a Kickstarter, please send us a link to the Kickstarter and any other information about it, and hopefully we'll be able to get it on the show. I basically want to just do a segment where I can talk about Kickstarters. We can talk about Kickstarters, kind of quickly. Just run through a bunch and give a little shout out to different comic books, because it's a whole different promotional tool for comics. These are not big two comics; these are a lot of indie creators, and I think there's a lot of awesome stuff on there.
Especially now.
Yeah,
with comic shops not being able to sell, and I know a lot of great material out there that people said, hey, let's just go the Kickstarter route while COVID-19 is keeping people housebound. Okay, so the Kickstarter for the t-shirt from Challengers is called the Keep Reading Comics t-shirt, designed by Gene Ha, and it's Challengers Comics and Conversation Kickstarter. I done kicked
them out. And there it is now on screen. I found it and it's pulled up here. So yeah, it's a cool looking shirt. They're looking to get $300 goal. So they've met their goal for sure. They've blown past that. That's good. So
17 days to go, and Patrick and Dow are just two of the best guys. They run two of the best shops in all of comicdom. One of them was looted yesterday. So.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, the downtown one, the Challengers Blue, and Patrick lost his mom yesterday. So,
oh wow.
So it's don't want to get too morose, but it's a really good time to help out some of the best people in comics. So yeah, go buy a sweet T-shirt.
I'm gonna pledge now and get one. Yeah, that's a cool shirt. Yeah, and like you said, it's all Chicago area. It looks like I see Jill Thompson there, and Scary Godmother, and Mike Norton's Pug, Battle Pug. Looks like
Ryan Brown. There's Stargrass from God Hates Astronauts, and
I don't know who this is down here. The hat and the like skull mustachioed skull guy. I don't know. I'm not sure who that might be. That's pretty cool.
There's all sorts of awesome characters on it. So yeah,
It's the Challengers Keep Reading Comics Kickstarter, and yeah, there you go. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna get one. But
nice.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the new segment, the little Kickstarter. Kickstarter jam. Kickstart the jams. I don't know, something like that. Kickstart the jams. That's what it is. Yeah,
Kickstart the jams. I like it. Yeah. It's a few others out there. So send it in. Suggest some Kickstarters, and I love talking to creators that have Kickstarters going. And there's a few out there that we've already sent out a feeler or two to have some folks on to talk about their Kickstarter projects, and we love doing that.
Absolutely.
Yay.
There was one. I did get one. I haven't had a chance to look at it too much. Mm-hmm. There was a listener that sent us an email about their Kickstarter, and I wanted to just mention it because there's not a lot of time left on it. Actually, by the time this gets up, there's probably not going to be much at all. But it's called Quarantine. Let me pull this up.
It's timely.
Yes, well, and it's a really interesting concept. Well, here I'll just. I'm done. Get them out. We got to do that every time, and we just got to annoy the hell out of people. But there's 16 hours to go, so by the time this goes up, there's probably only going to be like 8 hours to go on this. But it's a really cool concept. Basically, the guy who put this together, and his name. Jordan Thomas is right there. So he put this together. He had the idea of creating a comic about quarantine, but also in quarantine. So everybody was quarantined. So he reached out to a bunch of different artists to do one page each. So it's a continuing story, but everybody's just doing one page. So he has 28 different artists doing one page of the comic and telling this story of something going wrong in this building of these people. So kind of a cool idea. It's Quarantine-28. If you search Kickstarter, that should bring it up. So just thought it was kind of a neat Kickstarter there. So that's one of the new ones.
Here's one of my favorite Kickstarters. Do you buy comics on Kickstarter a lot, Sal? Have you backed stuff?
I have some. I not a ton, but I definitely have. I've recently backed 2 or 3, I think.
Well, yeah, because we keep having, because I feel ingenuous if we have someone on to talk about a Kickstarter and I don't back it. So
well, and it's also just like you have some, like Jim Rugg comes on and he tells you about the Kickstarter, and then he's really enthusiastic about it, and you go and look at it. It's like, oh, that is really cool looking. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, well, okay.
Okay.
I gotta support that.
Did you ever see? Rick Geary, right?
I don't think I do.
Rick Geary, he's a indie comics creator, but he's been around for a long time. He did a really cool graphic novel about H.H. Holmes.
Oh, okay.
The serial killer from Chicago during the World's Expo, the Columbian Exposition. Sorry.
Yes.
But yeah, he did this one on Kickstarter a few years ago. It's called A is for Antichrist. It's a Obama conspiracy alphabet. So each letter of the alphabet has a conspiracy theory about Barack Obama. So like L is for lizard, because there's a conspiracy theory that he is a mythical lizard king.
I thought that was cool. I thought they proved that one.
It's pretty. No? It's pretty hilarious.
Rick Geary. Yeah, I think I backed Octobriana. Then I backed that Cosmic Detective by I think
Lemire and Matt Kent, and I forget the artist's name.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head.
That one guy,
David Rubin. Rubin.
Yes.
Who's really good. Yeah, I backed that, and did I back? I think I don't know. I don't know which ones. I don't know. I backed a few, so if I see something I like,
it's fun. I've only ever had one Kickstarter not be delivered.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it ever happened to me. What one was it? And what were the bastards?
It's from a friend of the show, and so I will not mention who it is, about a private detective in a tropical island somewhere. But yeah, that one never happened.
Well,
We're about 4 years on, but no, I know that there's been a lot of other Kickstarters that have flopped. Famously with the cooler, the cooler that had like the margarita mixer and that kind of shit. It's Kickstarter's an interesting creature, but there's been some pretty awesome board games and awesome comics that have come out of
for sure.
out of Kickstarter.
There's all sorts of great stuff, and of course you're gonna have stuff that fails. People. I mean, here's the thing. It's this really cool opportunity to do something without a company backing you, but the problem with that is now you basically have to know how to. If you're doing a comic, you have to be the printer and the publisher and the distributor, and you know what I mean. Like now you're all of those things, and if you've never done it before. There's going to be things that just you don't foresee, and that could cause huge problems later on. Where it's like, oh, this isn't feasible. This is not, that's, nature.
Which that's talking to Ryan, and I think Ryan Brown, and why different creators reach out to him is because he's done 5 of them now, and I think has kind of learned through a lot of the pitfalls of the process and what to watch out for, and it's interesting. He's like Mr. Kickstarter.
He's Ryan Kickstarter Brown.
Yep. Which I think I've backed every one of his Kickstarters. I've got so much blast furnace crap that I found today. Stickers, mini comics. I think I have every blast furnace comic ever created.
Yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, it's like you want to support your friends and stuff, but and Ryan's a great artist and his stuff is hilarious, but I only have so much room in my house for books. I like digital because of that, because it's like, well, I don't ever find a shelf. I don't have to find a shelf to put it on when I'm done reading it or when I get it. So,
if you are a comic fan and you live in Western Milwaukee and frequent any of the little libraries, it's going to be a very good summer for you.
There you go.
Because there's going to be a lot of comics distributed throughout those little libraries this season.
I've been thinking about building one of those little libraries.
I'm gonna put one out. Yeah, I'm doing one as well.
Yeah, I was gonna build one during quarantine, but I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna have to do it some other on a weekend sometime. It doesn't look too tough, but my wife thought that would be a cool idea. And
of
course, right now it'd probably get broken and
lit on fire.
Yeah, somebody will just light it on fire, take a shit in it.
Kick it over. Yeah, it's been a little weird. We were about 20 blocks away from some of the craziness here in Milwaukee. So I live in Milwaukee proper, and so it's I've heard sirens all day long. It's 2020, man. It is just a gigantic fucking shit sandwich, isn't it?
Yeah,
let's just have another bite.
Well, you can only push people so far, I think. You can only, at some point. And when people are out of work and bored and frustrated and angry and, something horrible happens and lights that fuse.
Yep.
You're gonna
Powder keg.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just want my family to be safe. That's
Yep.
That's I don't I'm not getting political on any of it, but please don't come by my house. I am well armed. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy town, but everyone stay safe out there is the big thing.
For sure. Absolutely.
Just stay safe. All right. So, what have you been reading, man? I've just been cleaning stuff. You've actually been reading.
I've been reading. Well, I finally jumped back on the Weatherman train, and
I love it.
Volume 2. We've been fans of
Nathan Fox.
Nathan Fox forever. I don't even remember the first thing.
Here's one of my favorites. Remember Fluorescent Black?
Oh, I just ran across. That's sitting somewhere on this shelf right here. I just ran across that same book. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was actually Scotty Young who was just singing his praises.
Yeah.
I think Scotty was the one that kind of really turned us on to him.
And we met him. I know I met him a couple of times, but I bought that. I have that page there from him that I bought at one show. But yeah,
I think he has family in Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
He was at the comic shop around the corner from my house when Weatherman was first coming out, and I know he lives in New York, but I think he has ties to Milwaukee. I think he was here, over a holiday or something.
Well, I don't know what the difference has been with his. I mean, I've always loved his art. His brushwork is amazing, but like with the Weatherman, it's like a different feel.
It's really clean. It's not as inky.
It's cleaner. It's very bright and vibrant colors. It's very kinetic. Mm-hmm. And he's such a great cartoonist. Like his character designs are really great, and he does such great,
I think you just said he's a great cartoonist. He does great, expressions and captures the moment. His characters don't look static. I mean, there's always motion and movement and expression in them,
and none of them look the same.
His pages read very well.
Yeah. And with this, he's like I said, I feel like the Weatherman is some of his best work that he's done as far as just sequential storytelling stuff, and the story itself is really fun. It's a really cool idea for a sci-fi book. If you haven't read it before, I'll just kind of give a brief glimpse into what the story is, and it's about a guy who is a weatherman, and he finds out that he was not always a weatherman. At one time, he was basically a domestic terrorist, or I guess a intergalactic terrorist.
Intergalactic terrorist.
Yeah, and he killed 60 billion people on the planet, Earth being the planet, and then he wiped his mind to basically hide himself, and started this new life as a weatherman, as just sort of a dopey weatherman. But people of interest have found this out, and they're after him, and then all sorts of craziness, and wackiness ensues from there. It's really a funny book. It's a great, over the top, kind of adventure.
He's kind of like a Ryan Reynolds type character, where it's action but kind of cracking wise the entire time.
Yeah. But also some emotional stuff, like you talked about when we were talking about before. Like there's some very emotional parts of it too. Like there's a
I almost never finished the first issue.
I know exactly why. There's a pretty horrific. Yeah, it's very bloody. It's very gory. Lots of death. It's hyper violent. Insane violence and craziness. I mean, I think if you like something like Rick and Morty, if you're a fan of the Rick and Morty show, which I'm a huge fan of, this would be up your alley. It's not as necessarily as existential or sort of, delving into the psyche of everyday life kind of thing. But as far as just anything can happen, that's what I love about when somebody does a sort of sci-fi world really well, like anything can happen because there's no rules other than what they establish. And in this, like, there's so much weirdness and strange stuff, but not like Little Bird. When we read Little Bird, it was almost like too weird for me. Like it was not, there wasn't enough to hold on to. It wasn't grounded enough, where this is still grounded enough, but like any kind of crazy weird stuff can happen, and does. And the other thing I think that they've done amazingly well is in this book is create like a living, breathing universe. Like there are things happening in other galaxies with other people, other factions, different sort of groups that are after him for different reasons and defending him for different reasons, and different things happening. And you feel that like it's a cohesive sort of world that's interacting.
It's pretty amazing that, some people have a skill of that, instant world building where everything feels very alive and developed, that there's not just a world, but there is a cosmos that is these characters are operating in. And I don't know what that skill is and why some writers have it and some don't. But
and it's not easy to do, because there's a lot of times. Well, I think we talked about on an episode before where this quarantine, I went back with my kids and I watched all the Star Wars movies, and like the prequels are very convoluted stories, and there's a lot going on, and it's really, really difficult to kind of understand the motivations of the different groups of characters and like why people are doing things. So it's not an easy thing to do when you have, especially like when you have something that's happening over different planets in different solar systems, that kind of thing. Like it's hard to do, but I think that they've done it really well, where you really, you get what's going on. You understand the different, groups and what their motivations are. It's all about motivation. You have to do it without like, too much exposition, I think is part of the key. You can't just have tons of exposition explaining everything. You show it, don't say it, kind of thing. Yep. But it's a super fun book. It's really fun. 2 volumes out now, and they're both great.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite books on the stands right now. And when the second trade came out, it was an immediate pickup. I'm about halfway through it right now, so I'm glad that you didn't spoil it.
I wish somebody would open a Brutal Noodles restaurant, though, because that is a phenomenal name.
Brutal Noodles.
Like that is the greatest. Like a punk rock noodle shop. That should be called Brutal Noodles. I want to open that. But yeah, and that's for those that don't know, it's a restaurant in the universe, and it's, for whatever reason, they've put it on I think it's on the back cover. The logo is on the back cover of every issue of Brutal Noodles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it doesn't really
big ramen fan.
Yeah, I guess so. It doesn't really play any part in the book other than he likes to eat there, and he's eaten there a few times, unless maybe they're leading to some big reveal where Brutal Noodles is behind everything. But there's been no, like, it's just sort of part of the universe. It's it's like Watchmen, when you had those little things in Watchmen, like Gunga Diner and that kind of thing. That's what made that universe unique and its own thing.
My favorite ramen shop in Chicago is Furious Spoon.
The Furious Spoon, is that?
That's a good one.
I have not been there.
If you're looking for a good ramen shop.
Well, I'm not going into the city anytime soon, so that's not.
No, probably not. So once things aren't upside down anymore.
Yeah.
If you like the Weatherman, and I think we previewed it a little bit on the last episode. Have you read Space Bandits from Mark Miller?
I have not read it. I love the artist
Matteo Scalera.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Oh yeah, because was Black Science.
Yeah. Mark Miller has, like, he's in such a great position, because I think he can just go to any artist he wants and just be like, and it's funny. I don't know if you saw the cartoonist kayfabe. I talk about these guys every episode. It's like, they had Mark Miller on, And
oh wow,
and he was great, and it was an interesting conversation. But they talked about how, like, Ed had mentioned, like, someone he knew, an artist he knew, had told him a story of, like, Mark Miller called him up and said, I wanted you on this book. I want you to do this book with me. And his pitch was, well, you can either work for Marvel and DC and be a thousandaire, or you can come work for me and be a millionaire. And so that's just how he pitches.
Balls on this man.
Yeah, right. But it's like, it's true, because he's 50-50 on all the books that he does.
It's like, do you want to work on something? And it's hard. Do you want to work on something in Marvel and DC and be big in the comic scene, or do you want to work on something with Mark Miller and have a TV show or a movie developed out of it,
and own 50% of it? I mean, that's the big deal. Like, every book that he does with someone, he's 50-50 with them. It's straight down the middle. There's nothing convoluted,
well, and doesn't he have? I mean, you can see on the back of his stuff, it's got a Netflix logo on it.
Well, they own basically Millarverse or Millerverse.
Yeah, Millerverse. So, I mean, I don't know the details of the deal, but Netflix basically has the first rights to all of his stuff, right?
I would imagine, yeah. I have no idea what the deal is. So,
well, and it's smart on Netflix's part, because they figured this out a while ago. I mean, you go to Netflix and they for all the kids out there, Netflix used to be just distributing other people's movies, and you go to their site now and it's all original content. And so, I mean, they're just farming original content all the time. You really have to dig to find something that they didn't actually produce.
Well, and his stuff is very cinematic. I mean, he likes, he's talked about it. He likes big action movies, and that's what he writes. He loves, like, 80s action movies. That's the kind of stuff he digs. Big blockbuster movies is the kind of thing that he likes. So it's like, that's the way he writes, and it ends up, being.
I think we talked about, because Miller and Bendis were kind of neck and neck in the early 2000s, like 2004, 2005 or so. They're both the obvious, like, great writing talents in comics. I mean, there are other people, but it was really Miller and Bendis were the two names that people were really focusing on. And I think Bendis was really good at writing the never-ending comic book story. Oh, sorry.
Uh-oh. Emergency broadcast system. Chris
Sorry.
Is getting another.
It's curfew in Milwaukee. Don't go outside.
Oh.
But I think that Bendis got really good at writing the never-ending story for comics to have
so he just
a series that just
goes on and on and
going and going. And Miller, and we talked about it, was so good at sticking the landing on stuff. He knew how to give you a bang for the buck and just put an absolute exclamation point on the end of a story. And I think that's where you get to the cinematic nature of it. I guess the comparison would be that Bendis was a great TV series writer, where Miller was a great movie writer. I guess, is that a way to put it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of complete story versus, get people to come back. I mean, I don't think it's one or the other, though, with Bendis. I think Bendis could write. I mean, he wrote great complete stories before he worked for Marvel, but it was, just a matter of, this is what Marvel wants. The idea is get them to come back every month. So he transformed himself into, I'm going to write a sequential cliffhanger story every issue, and it's going to lead to the next one. And I don't know if many people did it better than him, but I think I think that's in a lot of ways maybe harder to do then
well, that's kind of a traditional way to write comics. We were talking about it with the Neil Adams, Roy Thomas X-Men, is like that was 11 issues or whatever, but they were basically 2-issue stories that overlapped each other, and so it was, you almost didn't know whenever you were going from one story to the next, because there was an overlapping of different scenes. And I think Bendis really went back to that well, and he talked about the way that Stan would write stories, and I think that he has a lot of reverence for that type of comic booking, where Miller, I think, I don't want to say that he was writing for the screen, but you look at something like Wanted, and it's like, they wanted that to be a movie.
Yeah, well, I think he I think he would argue that, hey, it just happened that I wrote stuff that I liked that were movies, and that's how I wrote my comics, and they became movies. But yeah,
a big telltale was whenever the characters looked like recognizable personalities, like Eminem.
Well, is that is that more, is that Mark Miller? Is that
was it J.G. Jones?
J.G.
Was that J.G.?
Yeah. Or like if you look at the Avengers, I mean, Nick Fury in the Ultimates became Sam Jackson became Nick Fury because of the Ultimates.
Yeah.
So
it's
I mean, that's, but yeah, I guess to me it's kind of weird to like think of it. I don't know if anybody that's making a story that's their own kind of thing isn't on some level sitting there going, well, this would be really cool if it became a movie. Whether or not Mark Miller was going, okay, I'm gonna write this so it is a movie, or as a movie's pitch kind of thing, maybe. I mean, that might have been in his mind, and maybe it was. I mean, I don't know. Hard to say.
Maybe a little bit of both. I mean,
it's not like the comics.
He writes a great comic, but you have to look at the hit rate and how much of his stuff has been adapted to movies, to big and small screen. I think I think when he writes a comic, I think he writes a comic, but I think he also uses the medium to work out movie ideas.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I think if you were to look at like Wanted and say this is my movie pitch, you're probably a little crazy.
Yeah. Because, but I think Kingsman is probably a little bit easier. That was
it's James Bond. It's but yeah, maybe I don't know. I mean, is it?
Hey, man, he's good, and he's out of all of the 90s, 2000s creators, I'd say he's probably, without a lot of people realizing it, probably at the top of the mountain as far as
I would think
just raking it in.
Well, and I think now I'm sure, like, if he's gonna write something, it's got to be in his head, because he's basically writing it for Netflix to develop.
That's kind of the deal. Yeah. Which, it's Space Bandits, fun 5-issue series. I enjoyed it. That's kind of the danger, I think, with a Miller comic now. As beautiful as Scalera's artwork is, I think you have to be really careful to not approach it from the what is this going? Is this going to be a Netflix movie, or a 10 episode limited series? So it's I have to.
Why would that enter your head
as a comic, not as a pitch? Right?
Why would you even be thinking that when you're reading it? Why would you care? Why do you care?
Oh, no, it's just kind of where your head goes whenever you
I think you have a grudge against them for being successful.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The problem is me, Sal. It's
wow.
It's like, don't read this as it's, point A of going to a movie or a TV series.
Have you ever read like scripts?
Be in the moment.
Like TV
Sorry,
scripts?
ever read what?
Like TV show scripts?
Yeah, they're completely different.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I know that there's sort of like this negative connotation to the idea of people writing a comic book with the hopes and dreams of it becoming a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you can write really good comic books and sort of not care if they're a good comic book. You know what I mean? Like you could write a shitty comic book and hope that somebody likes it enough to make a movie out of it.
And there's plenty of those that have happened and are out there. I think that's kind of what sets Miller apart, is that he's a really good writer, and he's a great idea guy.
And I don't think I doubt there's a comic book writer out there today that isn't hoping on some level that their story gets turned into something else. Somebody options it, that somebody buys it. So,
even Jason Aaron, I think he told us back in the day, I don't know if they were sniffing around about Scalped or something. And he said, Hollywood's a great place to visit, but I don't want to live there. I mean, he's like, I want to be a comic book writer, but he's also,
the reality of like,
he's not going to turn down the money of an option.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I would imagine most are hoping. I mean, if you're a storyteller, like, why would you not want as many people as possible to see your story, regardless of the medium? If I write, even if you are Jeffrey Brown and you write some incredibly personal indie comic, there has to be somewhere, and not talking about the business end of it or how dirty Hollywood could be or anything like that, but just on a purely sort of artistic level, there has to be a part of you that's like, I hope someone would make this into a movie or a TV show or something bigger. If it does, or just be more successful. I never understood like begrudging anyone possibly getting more successful and more people to see their story. It's a story. At the end of the day, I know like comic book purists are always like, well, this is made for comics, and you can only tell this story as a comic book. Okay,
and that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that.
They're very few and far between. There's very few comic books that are only. Watchmen is like the only comic book that can only work as a comic book, as we've seen over and over again. And even that, is still enough story ideas to make whatever you want to make out of it. But
there's a few things that
there haven't been. I guess my point is there have not been terrible comic books that have been made into great movies. So if it's a good story,
there's been terrible comics that have been made into terrible movies.
Absolutely. But if it's, what I'm saying is, it's not like somebody, Cowboys and Aliens is one of the examples.
I was going to say Cowboys and Aliens was pretty terrible.
Right, but it was a terrible comic as well.
Yes.
It wasn't
that one is sitting in the bin downstairs it's going to end up in a little library this summer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody's out there like making shitty pitch comics and then becoming
great movies.
Yeah, that are becoming great movies and TV shows out of them. Other than maybe like, I don't even know. I can't even think of anything that like, what's the most successful movie or TV show made out of a shitty comic book?
Out of a shitty comic book?
Yeah.
I mean, there are movies that people don't realize are comic book movies. I was watching Blade Trinity yesterday.
But that's a shitty movie. That's not a great movie.
I liked Blade Trinity.
Okay, it's still a shitty movie, whether you liked it or not. It's not. Is it a better movie than it was a comic book?
No. I'm trying to think. Toxic Avenger. Would that have been better than the comic?
Was the comic first?
Oh yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger was. When would the Toxic Avenger the comic come out?
That would have been an '80s comic. It was an '80s movie, wasn't it?
I don't even remember it as a comic. I don't know if it was a better comic or movie. I think they were both shitty. I mean, I have a certain love for Toxic Avenger, but
yeah,
I wouldn't call it a great movie or a great
yeah, comic. I don't know. That's all subjective, but no, I think one of the big differences, probably 15, 20 years ago, you'd see, for lack of a better term, classism between different media of, I'm probably like movie people, it's like you hear stories about actors that would tell people, oh, just, don't ever do TV, only do movies, never do TV because it'll ruin your career. And now you look at, probably mostly because streaming services streaming TV is where it's at right now to do really impressive, longer form, creative work. So I see, people viewing different media on a much more even scale. And, after the big boom of options with comics in the last 10, 15 years, I think there's a healthy amount of respect for the comics medium out there.
Yeah.
So
I think so. I think it's definitely better than it used to be.
Sure.
But
I saw Andy Parks had mentioned online that that with Extraction, even though different name from the graphic novel he wrote, that with its success, it's opened up a lot of writing doors for him. So he's busier than he has been in a while as a writer. So I think that just shows that something that we've talked about from the very beginning. Just tell me a good story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about manipulating emotions and just making someone care about something that they didn't know anything about before they watched it the first time.
But be careful, because if you kill someone's dog, chances are I might not make it through that first issue, and if I do, it's really touch and go.
No, the dog comes back.
It was still tough, Sal. Still tough.
It's not a real dog, Chris. It's okay. I don't understand you.
People. I was emotionally.
You people that hate human beings so much that you can watch thousands of fake humans be killed in a comic book or a movie or a TV show, but one fucking dog, and oh my God,
it's because I don't like people, Sal.
Well, that's not good. You should like people. People are way more important to us.
People are terrible,
than dogs.
And dogs are way better than people.
No, dogs are awful. Dogs are monsters.
They are selfish.
They're needy.
Yes, and they can't get settled down there whenever they're trying to nest, right, Rory?
Well, I'm on Team Human.
No, absolutely not. People are horrible. I have more treasures.
Listen, if dogs had hands, they'd be. I mean, have you ever watched Chimps? What chimpanzees do?
If dogs had hands,
they'd be awful. If dogs could stand up and they had hands, you'd hate them. They'd be way worse than people. Way worse.
I'm thinking of my dogs, and I was just like, I'd never be able to leave the house.
See?
They would be horrible.
I think we just found the title of this episode.
if dogs had hands. That is frightening.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, have you watched, speaking of television shows, have you watched Counterpoint or Counterpart with J.K. Simmons?
No. And I love J.K. Simmons.
2 seasons on Amazon Prime. It's only 2 seasons. I don't think it's getting renewed for a 3rd season because it was originally it was produced by Stars, I think.
Okay.
And so there was 2 seasons, and it's pretty much a complete story in those 2 seasons. But weirdly enough, like Stars came out and said they weren't renewing it because it had too big of a male or audience. And that was against their formatting. I don't know. It was very weird.
Against their target, their marketing.
Well, you know, they have that, what's the show? Oh, God damn it. I can't think of the name of the show. Very female empowerment sort of. Well, not really. I mean, I guess.
On Stars?
It's the one
Outlander?
No. Well, that one I think is a big... Yeah, anyway, who gives a shit? Anyway, Counterpart is with J.K. Simmons, and I'll just give you the brief. I don't want to spoil anything because it's a spy show.
Oh.
Yeah, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Yeah, you're going to love it. It's a spy show. It's set in Berlin, but it's kind of the near future. And J.K. Simmons works for this agency. He's kind of just like a dopey, administrative guy that works for this company. He doesn't even really understand what he does, but it's some sort of like security agency. And then he finds out that it's a much bigger thing than he ever imagined. And I don't want to spoil it at all. So I can't tell you what sort of the thing is, but it's like,
and it's called Counterpart,
I believe. It's either Counterpart or Counterpoint, but I think it's Counterpart. And it's really good. It takes a little while to get going, but it's really, really good. And I think you'll like it. Yeah,
I finished up What We Do in the Shadows. I'm all caught up.
Nice.
And it continues to be the funniest damn show on all of TV.
It really is. It's so good.
It is. We need to do an episode, like an offshoot, spinoff podcast of What We Do in the Shadows.
Just
because
recapping What We Do in the Shadows.
It is so good. I love that series so hard now.
It seems like it's getting more and more popular. It seems like people are really starting to get it onto it. I jumped onto it right away and loved it. And I've told everybody I know to watch it because it's just so goddamn funny. It's just
the gal who plays Jenna, the gal from Booksmart. Have you seen the movie Booksmart?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the first season, right?
Huh?
She was in the first season, right?
She was the female LARPer.
Yeah.
That gets turned into a Nadja turns her into a Nadia turns. Is it Nadia or
Nadja?
Nadja.
Yeah, something like that.
Takes pity on her and turns her into a vampire.
Yeah. Nadja is probably my favorite character on the show. Just some of the things she says kills me. Like just some of the little one-liner things that she throws out there, just
so sharp.
Yeah, but they're all great. They're all they're all great.
Laszlo, the actor who plays Laszlo,
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry is fucking out of control funny.
That the Jackie Daytona episode was Jackie Daytona.
I texted you. I was like, I just watched the Jackie Daytona episode, and I'm dead.
That was one of the funniest episodes. Just that character was so hilarious, and just the whole background,
the whole shtick about him putting the when he has the toothpick in as his disguise.
So good, so good. That show's brilliant. It's so good.
Oh, I love it. Have you seen Upload from Amazon?
I haven't yet. Is it good?
Really good.
I'm not a fan of that dude. Like he keeps
I
making
know.
shows,
Watch
and
it. It's good.
all right. I'll check it
Yeah.
out. It sort of seemed like a modern Pushing Daisies in some ways or something
No, it's not that cutesy.
Okay.
I liked Pushing Daisies, but it was cutesy. This is
Or it just seemed
not as.
it seemed like someone trying to do The Good Place again.
Nah, no.
No.
Um,
All right. Well, my presumptions are,
yeah, I
wrong.
mean, check it out, see what you think. It's different. It's a different concept. It's I love The Good Place. Good Place is one of my favorite sitcoms of the last 10 years. I thought it was brilliant.
The Good Place is so good because I can't stand what's her name.
Oh, Kristen Stewart? Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. I immediately am turned off by her.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Not a Veronica Mars fan, huh?
No, never was. I don't know why I don't like her, but that show is very good. Yeah, that show's hilarious.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ted Danson alone is worth watching. I
miss Ted Danson. Did you ever watch? It was an HBO show with Jason Schwartzman and Ted Danson and
yes, I know what you're
Zach
talking
Galifianakis.
About. Yeah.
God, did I love that show. That was one of my favorite shows on TV at the time when it was on. And just like the way they set that up with Ted Danson being the rich guy that could sort of just finance all their adventures because he was bored. I just kind of loved that. They were like this dumb Charlie's Angels detective agency. It was brilliant. It was so good, but it only lasted like 3 seasons, I think.
Yeah. That's it's a from a media standpoint, it's like everything we ever could have wished for whenever we were kids growing up.
I mean,
just the availability of stuff. There are fucking networks dedicated to comic books out there.
It's I can't even keep up with it. There's so much stuff out there, like I said, that Harley Quinn show, if that was the only thing out there, it would be my favorite thing in the world. But it's like I haven't even watched it because I don't have time.
Yeah. It's great. It's almost, and this sounds horrible, and I kind of felt this way when I was cleaning out the boxes and boxes of paper in my basement today. It's kind of, from a media and entertainment standpoint, it's kind of like living in a 24-hour 365 all you can eat buffet. And at some point you kind of lose your taste buds. It's because it's constant.
I don't want to eat anything. I don't want to eat
anything.
Give me a glass of water.
I'm surrounded by food all the time, and it's awesome and terrible at the same time. We were talking to some friends the other day about growing up as comic fans, and it was one of those really horrible nostalgic moments of walking uphill both ways in the snow and talking about how we would go to the spinner racks to get our comics, and you'd have to go to 2 or 3 different quickie stops. We had Huck's was ours, and you had like a gas and sip or whatever, and so you would have to go around town to like 3 or 4 different places to get all of the comics for that month that you wanted to, and they were folded in half over the spinner rack, and you didn't care about what condition they were in. You just wanted the comics for the stories, and they were 75 cents at the time, but you really had to go out and search and look for stuff. And now everything is just there, and which is awesome from a convenience standpoint. But
that was in part of my cleanup. I was like DVDs. I have dozens and dozens of Blu-ray DVDs, and I'm like, I haven't watched a DVD in probably 3 years. I haven't actually physically put a DVD in a machine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna put all these away. I have not, I don't even know what to do with them. I just put them in a bin, and I put them in my crawl space for the time being, because I'm like, and they're like, like I said, most of them are Blu-ray collector's editions, and all sorts
of steel case.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm never gonna watch this shit. I don't even have a DVD player on my computer anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even have one that I can play anything on it. But
yeah, it's a wonderful and terrible time for me. It's rereading. Even though I have been rereading a lot of comics lately, I don't rewatch a lot of stuff. And so I look at movies and TV series that I have on DVD and Blu-ray and that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I'm never going to watch this again.
I used to rewatch more stuff. Like I've watched The Wire, I don't know, 3 times or something. Mm-hmm. And like Deadwood, I've watched a bunch of times, and stuff like that. But it's becoming less and less frequent at this point. Like, there's just too many new things, to go back and rewatch. But I have been not rereading some comics, but going back and reading some older stuff that I either didn't really appreciate it, maybe at a younger age, or I didn't really, get it, or did some stuff I just never even read it, but same thing.
Yeah. What's a comic that the first time you read it, you're like, ugh, and then years later you gave it a reread and you're like, oh, okay, now this is amazing.
It's funny you asked me that, because I just had that experience not that long ago. There was something, I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah. For me, it was From Hell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From Hell is, I love Alan Moore. It is an amazing book, but it is not an enjoyable read to me. It's just not.
I understand.
I have a hard time thinking about going back and reading that. I've read it, but
I don't know if I'll ever reread it. Again, I probably read it as many times as I need to, but that's another interesting one. It's like what's a great book that you didn't enjoy, and those are out there. For me, Fun Home is a great book. I did not enjoy it at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially with those kind of books, it's
a depressing book.
Yeah, I have to be in a certain mindset to try and get through something like that, and it's like, I don't, it's often not what I'm looking for out of a story. Like, yeah. I don't at my age, like, I'm not really looking to examine the psyche of human nature.
I don't want to read about your pain.
Not really. I went through it already. That's great.
Like I said, it's a quality piece of work, and Alison Bechdel is an amazing creator and has contributed a lot to the medium. Yeah,
is she? I'm gonna get
pretty good cartoonist and understands the medium and has brought a lot to it. So, and actually kind of transcends comics in some ways. So,
just from her stupid test.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's which the Bechdel test. So there.
Well, I know of it. I know it's dumb. So
you prove my point. So I also found this. I found back in the days.
I did too. I just found that cleaning up my stuff.
This?
Yeah. I
Are you kidding
I have
me?
it. I'll grab it. I have it. Hold on. I just found it.
This is the Alien Legion graphic novel, which came out, and this is A Gray Day to Die. what year? It's got to be 1980. I want to say 84, 86. So it's Carl Potts and Frank Sirocco. If Sal is actually able to pull this thing out of his archives, we'll say archives, I'll be shocked. And he's digging deep, and this is thrilling fucking radio. So while he's searching, I'll remind folks, once again, you can contact the show at info@aroundcomics.com. Send us in your questions and comments. You do have it.
I told you I had it. Look at.
Ooh. That's awesome. Here, I got to show you. So I'll leave now.
Yeah. I haven't read this in forever. I do remember this being... just like an awesome looking book. There was just some amazing like designs in here, and I love the look of some of the characters.
One of my favorite pieces of original art. It's the only painted comic art that I have.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
So it's on the original board, and I checked for the series. It was actually a painted and colored comic, so they didn't color it in post. So that's one of my favorite original pages is from Alien Legion: A Gray Day to Die.
I ran across a treasure trove of graphic novels, original, because these were the original graphic novels. This was Marvel graphic novels, but I have the Alien Legion one. Then I have, I don't even know, this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it's a graphic novel, and this is
nice.
I think
it was probably one of the big ones that was listed as a graphic novel. Was X-Men God Loves, Man Kills, which
this was TMNT colorized, I think, for the first.
Oh wow, that was the first color.
I think so. I mean, that's a guess to some degree. But...
Now, was this the first graphic novel that Marvel put out?
That sounds right.
The Death of Captain Marvel.
That sounds correct. I'm not sure if it is correct, but it does sound correct.
This thing is in awful shape, and I love it because it has been read so many times. It's been doodled in. You can't even read the spine of it. Now wait. Oh, so, you've got a different copy of God Loves, Man Kills.
But wait,
that's the first one.
I don't know why I have two of them.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm like, why do I have two of these?
I have two copies of V for Vendetta, and I have no idea why. So somebody's getting a copy of V for Vendetta this summer.
I have this.
The New Mutants graphic novel. Now we're talking. That was so that came out before New Mutants 1. Before that is the first appearance of all of those characters.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I don't know the history of it, to be honest with you. But
who did the art on that?
Bob McLeod.
Okay.
McLeod, yeah.
Boy, when Sienkiewicz took that book over,
I loved this book though.
New Mutants.
Yeah, this was
because that comes out what year? What's the copyright on that?
So this is Marvel. Let's see, copyright 1982. So I would have been 11 years old when I bought this, and this was all like everything I wanted out of a comic book at the time. Like I fell in love with these characters. That was.
What was cool about it at that point, I mean, the X-Men had been around for a long time, and you knew that they had been around for a long time. And that was the feeling of, oh, wow, this is a new book with people my age or close enough to my age that I can follow.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were young. They were the new X-Men.
Yeah, they were the New Mutants.
I mean, I liked the X-Men, but it was like, oh, wait a minute, these are younger, So, hey, let me ask you on that Death of Captain Marvel, does it have a number? Because both my New Mutants and the X-Men one, New Mutants says Marvel graphic novel number 4, X-Men says Marvel graphic novel number 5.
Where does it say that at?
On the top left. On this, it
just
right
says
here.
Marvel graphic novel.
Yeah, that's how the Alien Legion just says Marvel graphic novel.
This is also a 5th printing.
Oh, I don't even know. Let's see. What is this?
And it's in terrible, terrible shape.
This is funny. It's funny we both ran across these like oh, here it is. Other graphic novels from Marvel and Epic Comics. Death of Captain Marvel, Elric, Dreadstar, The New Mutants, The X-Men, Star Slammers by Walt Simonson.
Oh, wow.
Kill Raven by Don McGregor and P. Craig Russell. Super Boxers. Remember that?
Oh, God. Yes.
Futurians from Dave Cockrum. Heartburst from Rick Veitch. I don't think I've ever seen that. Void Indigo by Steve Gerber and Val. Now I'm going to be on a mission. I want to collect all these.
Collect all of the Marvel graphic novels.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, if I ever go to a comic book convention again, that's going to be my goal. There's a Amazing Spider-Man by Susan K. Putney and Bernie Wrightson.
Wow, what? Bernie Wrightson did a Spider-Man?
That's what it says here. Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man the Amazing Spider-Man in Hooky. Yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Daredevil Love and War by Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz. Dracula Symphony in Moonlight and Nightmares by John J. Muth. Yeah, so this, I don't know when this one.
You know, I think we have stumbled upon my next Comics 101.
Graphic novels?
No, I think I'm going to do, what do you think about History of Epic Comics?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a good one. I thought you were going to do Marvel graphic
novels. Epic was the shit. Epic was like Vertigo before Vertigo.
For sure. It was stepping outside the boundaries for sure. Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool.
Was Elektra Assassin? That was Epic, right?
I think so. I could look because I found my issues of that.
Oh wow! Oh, you've got original issues.
Yeah, they're not that expensive.
I almost guarantee you that was on the Epic imprint, which was at the time that was Epic was, I don't want to say adults, but definitely skewed older for who it was marketed to.
Yep.
Epic.
Yep. Right there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Epic was kind of like the Vertigo of Marvel Comics.
I found all sorts of good stuff. Hard Boiled, one of my favorite. Frank Miller. Got those.
I've never seen Hard Boiled individual issues.
Oh yeah, and they're like oversized. They're weird, almost square format.
Yeah, so I've only ever seen that collected.
Look at the size difference.
Oh wow, that's awesome. God, those Elektra Assassin covers bring back so many memories.
I was so pissed because how many times did we run across Jeff Darrow, and I couldn't find these forever. For years I had lost them and I couldn't find them, and I finally found them. But I wanted Jeff Darrow to sign them. I have a Flash. It looks like I bought this at Dark Tower Comics. This is what issue is this? Flash number 130.
Why did you buy Flash number 130?
I don't even know. I don't know. It's got the Trickster, Captain Cold, the top, Captain Boomerang.
Okay, it's the whole Rogues Gallery.
And then Kid Flash meets the Elongated Man.
No, well, there you go.
Oh, you know why?
You bought it as a present for Tom and never gave it to him.
No, you know what?
Huh.
I didn't buy it at Dark Tower. I bought it at a show.
Uh-huh.
Where Dark Tower was at.
Okay.
And I had it signed. Because is this Carmen Infantino?
Oh. Did you have Infantino sign that at New York Comic Con?
There's a signature here. Yeah, that's Carmen Infantino. That's why. That's why I bought it, because there's Carmine Infantino's signature.
That's yeah. Yeah, you need to get a little comic book frame for that.
Jesus, I forgot all about that.
Because that's a great cover, because it does. It's got all of the Flash rogues on it and Flash.
So I went to Mark and I'm like, Mark, I want Carmine to sign a Flash book for me. Do you have one that he did?
That's cool.
Yeah, and this is the one So
okay, that's cool. See all the crap that we accumulate that we don't even know. What is that?
Fantastic Four 79.
Okay.
Here's Fantastic Four 23.
Whoa.
Dr. Doom.
There's some old comics, dude.
Here's Justice League number 3.
Number 3?
Yeah.
Why do you have Justice League number 3?
I got it out of somebody's collection I bought. I don't remember.
Okay. You're like, oh, that's old.
Journey into Mystery, number 73.
Nice.
Some eerie. Yeah, I found all sorts of. Oh, here's Epic Illustrated.
Amazing Fantasy number 15.
Oh, here was see, I told you I got 3 and 4.
Of the Turtles.
Yeah, I should really take care of these, put them in better.
You should. Yeah, people are cringing. Anyone who's watching this is like, Jesus, man.
I got a signed Carmine Infantino flat, and I have a.
Why don't you lick the pages more?
A Fantastic Four 23, and it's just like, whatever, They're comic books. You nerds.
It's amazing how we value paper differently, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I stopped being like a collector.
Yeah.
Because it was like, one, I don't have the money to collect stuff that is valuable. So it's like I'm gonna buy.
Yeah, you're not gonna finish your JLA run.
No, probably not. Although I kind of want to go back and finish my Daredevil run, but that would be tough. But
yeah, I mean, would you go backwards or forwards?
Backwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't go forwards.
Yeah. It's and for you it would be you've got stuff in the
I've got some early stuff, but it would be like a lot of pre Frank Miller stuff and I mean there's a ton of stuff that I don't have that probably wouldn't be that expensive to do. Yeah. It would just be hunting it down, and then it would get like really expensive.
Yeah, it's probably the early Colin stuff is probably a little expensive.
I've never actually looked, honestly. I know like I was looking at one point, like you could get issues in the 10s and the teens that weren't terribly expensive. I mean, they weren't. They may not have been like and once again, I'm not buying like CGC graded. I don't care necessarily how good a condition they're in, that kind of thing, but.
I'm for me, I'm not an individual issues kind of guy. I mean, there's a few of the actual individual issues that I have, but I just kind of transferred out of that, and it's really collected editions or digital. And there's a few things that for nostalgia's sake, some individual issues that
and that's what I was thinking is like, instead of doing the Daredevil thing, like I think I'd rather just buy some individual things that would mean a lot to me that I had at one time. Yeah, but that would be expensive too.
Yes.
But maybe slowly work on it. Never know.
Yeah. That's we are collectors. That's part of what got us into doing this. And
it's
letting go of stuff is hard, but I'm getting better at it.
Well, I did, like I said, a couple years back I sold 11 long boxes of comics for very little money. I basically gave them away. I kept all the stuff that meant something to me, but I mean that ended up being like, I think I have 4 short boxes of comics.
Yeah.
I got rid of like 11 or 12 long boxes of stuff. And then I donated probably 800 pounds of hardcovers and trades to my local library. Like bins. Like I think I had like 4 bins of trades and hardcovers, and I'm just like, yep, I'm gonna give them to the library.
Yep.
Oh,
yep. I went through them, and it's whenever you find stuff that you forgot that you had, and whenever you look at it and you say, I'm never ever going to read this again, probably a pretty good indication. It's like there's a lot of Witchblade trades downstairs in my basement right now in a box that will be making their way to little libraries all over Milwaukee.
Yeah, definitely. You don't need that. You don't need that stuff hanging around.
Oh, don't need that in my life anymore?
No.
I used to love Witchblade. That's some quality stuff.
All right, are we going to wrap this up? I think we've talked about our collections of crap enough.
So okay, well, I think I found my next Comics 101. I'm excited.
There you go.
So I'll be researching Epic Comics. I reminded everyone they can contact the show at info@aroundcomics.com and to give us some ideas on Kickstarters that need some broader support and passing along the gospel on those. You got anything else, Sal?
No, I think that's it. Like I always said, you can contact us at info@aroundcomics.com. You can support the show at aroundcomics.com/shop. Please do. No, other than that, I think that's all.
All right. I'll have my copy of Ciudad, which I will let go for a mere $500.
Wow.
If you're hey, that's $273 under the lowest Amazon.
Is that signed to you? Is that personalized to you as well?
No,
that brings the volume down. Mine's personalized to me.
Is it really?
Yeah. I bought it from Andy's table at a show.
I think I had already bought it. Because I'm a better friend than you, and I didn't bring it to bother him. I do have a couple signed copies of Capote in Kansas, though. Those will always stay with me.
I wanted the personalized interaction of
the experience of buying direct from the creator.
Absolutely,
you're a better person than me, aren't you?
Him handing it to me after he signed my name in it. So I would never sell. I would for no price. Ever.
You lie. You were such a liar. All right, sir. We'll be back later this week. Please, everyone, be safe out there, whether it's with COVID-19 stuff or civil unrest. Take care of your fellow man and take care of yourself. And we will see you later this week, hopefully. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
Head Around Comics.
Comics.